And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com. Wednesday through Sunday, lunch and dinner. Get down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15% off of your order, or go to the app. They will deliver right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop. Get yourself some of those amazing chicken tenders, some fried chicken, some fries, some Galactic sauce, fried pickles, all the good stuff. All right, Aaron. Here's something we're gonna try, and things get crazy. So we have ideas. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But one of the things we're gonna try to do is bring some of the message board engagement and some of our better threads and carry them over into the Nightcap content, so that the Nightcap isn't just taking a topic from the podcasts and bringing them here to talk about again. So today, I thought a really good one from JSAG Cincy this afternoon, and he wants to know your picks: preseason MVP, top newcomer, and breakout performer, offense and defense. So one for each. 6 different guys. And we'll give JSAG his flowers here. He did MVP Miles Montgomery and Deshaun Pace, top newcomer Braden Smith and DJ Taylor, and breakout performer, which he defines as been in the program, but becomes an every game name we discuss. He went with Shema Mateer and Jack Dingle. So let's start with MVP, offense and defense.
Let's also do this. Are we going to do we have to pick different ones, or are we going to go with this? We do,
I mean, if there's something that I think there's one that will probably not be able to budge on who we pick.
Defensive MVP?
Yeah. I think there's but
I'll go a different one. I'll go just for conversation's sake. I'll go a different one.
Well, but let's just do it. MVP offense. Who you got?
I'm gonna go with Emory Jones, and I think that I do want to give a little hat tip to Mike Boston for throwing out some Emory Jones video from Florida this week on Twitter. I had never actually watched his video. I've only seen him live.
He was on the cusp at Florida of becoming really good, and then Anthony Richardson was right there on his heels, who became
really good,
a top 10 pick in the draft.
But I had never seen him outside of what I had seen at practice, at the scrimmages, at spring game. So that was my Emory Jones, and maybe that's a knock on me for not going back and looking up some video. I'm sure Brent's actually watched plenty of video on Emory.
All of it. Every snap that he's ever taken since he was in 7th grade, Brent's watched it.
But I do think that if this season is going to go the way that I think it's going to go, and for me, again, I've said somewhere between 6 and 8 wins, and anything above that, let's go. But I think that if it's going to be the way that I think it's going to be, Emory has to be the MVP, right?
Yeah, so that's where it gets kind of. So I think there is a piece of me that wants to go running back.
Sure.
But I think Miles and Corey, and then somebody gets dinged up. I think Ethan Wright and Ryan Montgomery are right there. Yeah. To jump in and give you 2-3 game stretches.
Stephen Bird, out of your mouth, had a great camp as well.
He did. But it's against the 2s and 3s mostly. So I'm not ready to put all of my luggage on the Stephen Bird bandwagon.
I'm just saying, but if he had to step into a role as a
secondary role, right?
A third string running back.
Yeah. So I don't think running back. Wide receiver, I know this is kind of it doesn't fit any of the narrative, but I think there's almost too many of them that are going to be quality.
which is an entirely different conversation
Right.
than we were having at the
Exactly.
end of the spring game.
Like, I would be tempted to say, just from what we saw through the majority of camp, that like Braden Smith could be the guy that, like, you know, takes a bunch of short stuff and, you know, goes to the house and makes a bunch of teams, plays on special teams, to where like he becomes like and calm down when I say what I'm about to say. Calm down, not you, but everybody watching. He could have a Marty type impact, making little plays into big plays. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's going to be Marty, but one of the things that made Marty so special is that he took bubble screens and took them 70 yards for touchdowns, and he returned punts and he returned kickoffs, and he did a lot of things that made him Marty. I think Braden can have that like ballpark of impact, because I do think Braden Smith's going to return punts. I do think he's going to get a lot of stuff short and intermediate in space, with the idea of allowing him to make big plays off of short throws.
Can you imagine how different his life would have been in the NIL era?
Oh God, Marty would have made a lot of money,
and he would have never lived in a car.
Right. Well, he might have, because but anyway, that was before he became Marty. He became Marty well after the living in the car thing. But I think it probably has to be Emory. Just because if the offense is going to be good, it's going to be because Emory Jones is good.
Mm-hmm. I think he makes.
I think the problem is I can't settle on anybody else.
I feel
while
that.
reconciling with my brain that the offense is pretty good.
I also think he's going to elevate the running game. Like not just because of his legs, but I think he's going to actually make the running backs better with the screens and with the RPOs and just different things that he's able to do as an option. No pun intended. Yeah. I mean, just
as a read option.
Double entendre, if you will. But I think that's where I settle in, is the fact that I think that he makes both facets of everything better. And I think that in order for Emory to be what we need him to be, the offensive line has to be good. But again, who are you picking from the offensive line?
Right. Here's the other problem. If he's bad, who do you pick? Like, then it's just who cares, right? Like, if he's not good, who cares who's the offensive MVP? Because the offense stunk.
Woof.
Yeah. Defensive MVP.
I think we have the same one. So again, I'll pick a different one based on a conversation we had a couple of nightcaps ago, but go ahead.
Deshaun Case. I think he's in a position that highlights exactly what he's good at. I think he's going to fly around. He's going to make a ton of plays. There's going to be a highlight of him destroying somebody in the flat every week, to the point that teams just aren't going to throw to his side in the flat by the time we get to like week 5. He's primed to get back to star status like he was 2 years ago.
I'm going to go with Dante Corleone, the AP preseason first team All-American.
Yeah.
I said it a couple nights ago that
and look, that is a massive honor for him to be preseason AP first team.
First team, not second team, not honorable mention.
First team, yeah.
First team.
The only Big 12 player on the AP first team, offense, defense, special teams.
Huge hat tip for that. But, I mean, as far as Dante goes, I still stand by the fact that I think that he could be as disruptive, just in a different way, as we had damn near an entire nightcap about, as what Sauce was. So I think that there's plenty of hype around him. There's plenty of flowers at this point for Dante Corleone. It's just a matter of, can you fill the shoes that have been left for you to put your feet into? Are you Cinderella?
Not even like he was like, I would argue he was Cinderella last year.
But I'm saying that was just me trying to make the
I know. I'm just like, I think we need a different, because I think he was Cinderella last year, where he came from. Remember at camp, it was like, I don't know that like Briggs is going to be the starting nose tackle, but Dante Corleone is killing people at higher ground.
last year he was Cinderella dancing around with the mice, singing about like the fairy godmother. This year he needs to be the one to put the foot into the shoe and it fits, right?
Well, I guess the argument on him being Cinderella last year was that by the final like month and a half of the season, he was the number 1 rated defender in the country, and he ended as the number 1 rated defender in the country. Now where the Cinderella analogy works is
do it against
did the clock strike midnight?
Do it against the Big 12.
Yeah, did the clock strike midnight or
are you turning into a pumpkin?
Right. So I get that. I get that angle from you.
We got through that analogy. It was a struggle.
We just got to workshop. Sometimes you got to workshop things live on air.
Top newcomer, according to J-Sag Cincy, top newcomer is a freshman and or transfer.
I don't know that there's going to be freshmen.
On offense? No, not on offense. Certainly not on offense. I wouldn't think.
I don't know that there's going to be a freshman that really. Well, there's only 10.
Yeah.
So that makes it wholly different than most years where there's
this year
20 plus. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be a freshman, and there's 23 transfers that are going to be playing a crap ton of snaps throughout the season. So this is an interesting one. I will go here, Braden Smith on offense.
I will see your Braden Smith, and I will raise you a different receiver. And his name is Xavier Henderson.
Yeah.
And I will say that because I feel like every time I saw him run a go route, he slipped past everyone. Not to mention the fact that he is the only receiver who has caught balls from Emory Jones prior to this season.
So the one thing that blew me away about Xavier Henderson, well, 2 things. One was and we talked about this at the beginning of camp, his ability to pull away late.
Yeah.
Where 2 guys, the defender would be lockstep with him 25 yards down the field. But as soon as that ball was in the air, he just went like this. And like he would be 2.5 yards ahead by the time the ball got there.
That's not even mentioning the fact that he can high point over pretty much everyone because he's so tall.
Never really had to.
He
can.
Good.
Yeah. But we saw a bunch of other guys like going up and high pointing stuff. We didn't see that a ton from Xavier Henderson because he was just pulling away late in the route, which is an NFL skill. The guys that can pull away at the very end of the route, like that's an NFL elite level skill. So I don't hate it. And right now, Xavier Henderson's not even technically a starter because D. Wiggins and Donovan Ollie are the 2 outside guys and Braden Smith's in the slot.
Give me week 2 against Pitt.
Well, he's going to make highlight plays down the field. So that's where I think you might be right more than me on this one. But I'm in on Braden Smith, so we'll see.
Yeah,
defense newcomer was quite a few options here as well.
Who you got?
I'll let you go first this time. We'll snake draft. You can go first this time.
Well, I'm going Daniel Gresham, DG, and I don't even know that it's particularly close.
I think it's close.
You
got other guys that are close.
You got was it Dorian
and Jordan Young. I think those 3 guys all have a chance to be right there at the top of the defense. You know what I'm saying?
Gresham he's flashed throughout all of the fall.
Sure.
Dorian Jones knows this defense better than anybody.
Right.
And that's what it wasn't. I still think Gresham is going to have the sack numbers that Dorian Jones won't have.
He's in a system
that's
going to ask him to do that. So he statistically I guess here's the thing with Gresham that makes your argument the strongest argument is if Brian Brown's defense works like it's supposed to work, Greshik is going to be a star.
Correct.
Because that's what that dog position does.
Correct.
So I think
I took a cheat code.
No. I mean, that's why I let you go first. That would probably have been my answer.
But again, if he's as disruptive, if Dante's as disruptive, if this defensive line is as disruptive, if the linebackers and Deshaun Pace are as disruptive, that could also lead to Jordan Young, which, to your point,
the only thing I'm starting to wonder now is if Sammy is in a better spot than Jordan Young in terms of being that number one corner. But I think I'm going to go with Debo. I think I'm going to go with Dorian Jones because, one, I think he's going to be used in a lot of those packages, getting up the field and getting after the quarterback. And two, if they're going to stop the run, it's going to be from the linebackers flowing off of the defensive line, filling gaps, making plays, and he has a big nose for that. So he probably won't have the tackles of Deshaun Pace on the outside, but from the inside, like we've seen middle linebackers here rack up a boatload of tackles playing in this 3-3-5 or 3-4, however you want to categorize it, scheme. So I'll go Dorian Jones, but I think you're probably right with Gresham.
So that brings us to breakout performer, been in the program, but becomes an every game name we discuss. I had defense first last time. Do you want me to take offense first this time? And you have defense first?
Sure.
However you want to do it. Breakout performer then for me on offense that's been in the program. I think we might have the same one on this.
I might. Go ahead.
Miles Montgomery.
So I want to agree, but I'll go Kiner because I do think that there is value in outside zone to still being able to run between the tackles.
Look, if both of them have style, if between the two of them they have 2,000 yards and 18 touchdowns, let's go.
If between the two of them they have 1,750 yards, like if they're both at like 700, 800, 900 yards rushing between the two of them, with like, okay, this defense, this guy has a big day. This is where I think it becomes important between the two of them. Okay, this guy has a big day against this specific defense. And then the other guy has a big day because this defense gives a different look. Yeah. Like if you have that where they can't really zero in on which one is going to get you, I think that's a great 1-2 punch to have. I think they are viewing it as a 1-2 punch.
It's a lightning and thunder. It's a lightning and thunder type combo. Yeah,
Fick
I agree.
Wanted a bell cow. Fick wanted a guy that just pounded and pounded and pounded on you and wore you out. I think when you listen to, if you go back to the interview with Sat, when he talked about why they like outside zone. Because on average, you're making the defense move so many extra yards per play to cover. I think having two backs like that can really punish you there is critical. So I'll take Kiner, even though I think it's going to be a 1A, 1B.
Who you got on defense?
Sammy.
I think there's probably there's a couple.
I'll go Sammy. I think I could come up with a couple more, but I think Sammy is poised. I always thought he was an outside guy. I got why they wanted to use him in the nickel spot with Arquan kind of getting that love outside. But I think Sammy is primed for a big year in his first real run as an outside corner. He had a great camp. Great.
I don't think you can call a returning starter. a breakout
That's why I
performer.
didn't go threats.
So it's not threats for me. It's not Juwan. It's not Dante, because Dante was in enough.
He's a first-team All-American. He's not a breakout guy. He was a number 1 rated defender in the country last year. What's he break out from after being the number 1 defender in the country?
And I don't hate JSAG Cincy's Jack Dingle. I don't hate that at all. You took Sammy, so I'm not going to take Sammy. I'm going to go Justin Watley.
My only question there is,
I don't hate it,
but the question is, where did the snaps come from?
I think that offensive line is going to be so focused on what's happening with Juwan and Dante that I think
Watley's not really playing opposite Juwan and Dante.
He's not been playing defensive end at this point?
Well, Juwan's playing defensive end.
Correct.
And Dante's playing in the middle. And then Eric Phillips and Malik are kind of on that other side. Now, Malik has gone back and forth. So Watley could be the backup to Phillips. I think if you were going to go that route, I would have gone Phillips. I think Eric Phillips is in for a big, big year.
I'm nervous, justifiably so, about the ability of both. I don't know. Phillips hasn't been completely dinged up, but
he played almost the entire season healthy last year.
Last year, yes. What about the year before that?
He didn't really play.
I thought he was dinged up the year before.
The year before that is when he lost a human. Remember, the year before that was when we saw him at spring ball, and he was 320, and then we came back in the summer, and he was like 265, and it was like, Eric, you got a tape? Did you give yourself a tapeworm? What did you do?
I don't know. I think it's going to be somebody's going to flash on that defensive line that's playing outside of Juwan and Dante, whether it's Eric Phillips, whether it's Malik Van. And I think, again, this is kind of that situation where, at least in my eyes, that whoever is in at that point in time is going to be an afterthought when those other two guys are in there. So I'm curious to see what the rotation looks like, and just kind of throwing another name out there that I thought had a good. I
don't hate it. I thought Watley was effective.
I thought he had a great scrimmage.
Yeah. It's just a matter of, like, what is the percentage of snaps that he gets to be a breakout guy.
Understood.
Where I think Phillips is going to get a lot of snaps. Like, in that rotation, I think Phillips is going to be 50%, a little over 50%.
At least bear in mind that the only eyes I had outside of hearing the recaps were scrimmage.
I'm not knocking your choice. I'm just saying I think if that's gonna, like, I think Phillips would be the more, like, breakout type. But there's definitely a scenario where we're sitting here in week 8 going, man, Justin Watley's coming on. So, like, I don't hate it. I'm just saying, like, based on what we've seen already, what are the percentage of snaps that Watley's going to get to make an impact on a large scale? Now, what could happen is he gets 35% of the snaps or whatever and plays well and catapults himself into a guy that we're talking about late in the season and into next offseason.
Stranger things have happened, and this is the first year with this staff in place.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
We'll see.
All right.
Good stuff, JSAG Cincy. Good stuff.
Appreciate it, JSAG. Start good threads, guys, and we'll talk about it here on the Nightcap. We'll see you tomorrow night. That's the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.